Okay, I think we are live. Yeah. All right, we're live in this hour. We're joined by Amoja, Moman, Sumler. Sumler, we're very, very excited to have you back. It was kind of like, I didn't really intend to bring people back, but we got this thing going on right now. So you're in DC. You're the first person I want to talk to. So what's going on?
Well, I cannot either confirm or deny, but there are tales that a fascist had a bad night, and then he was like off hiding in a bunker or some shit. I don't know, man. When I see him on Facebook and CNN and all this shit, he's a tough guy, man. I mean, there was that one time an eagle was on his desk, and I think he damn near pissed himself. I think it was something like that, man. DC, bro, crazy place.
Yeah, yeah. I think he flinched somewhere in the Midwest too. I don't remember why, but he was like that, and the guards had to grab him. So he's shown signs.
He was giving that speech. Like, I mean, they rushed his ass off with the fucking. I mean, that's the thing though, right? Like when you remember, like when they show you the videos of fucking Mussolini, like these guys always put out this super, and you see this motherfucker always with the UFC and shit. And like when I see Putin talking to Khabib, I believe that shit. This motherfucker knows Sambo too. He might have wrestled some fucking bears in his day too. Yeah, I see this old Cheeto looking ass motherfucker up there talking to Dana White like y'all is tough guys. Fuck out of here. That's my city, man.
Yeah. So. I mean, like, give us an on the ground update. No names, no whatever. But like, what the what's going on?
I mean, you know what I'm saying? When you are in the capital of the motherfucking Hunger Games, this kind of shit is always going off. And what people don't get is this is a big part of why, like, people act like all of these things are dissimilar struggles, right? Like gentrification, for example. When you have people like Mario Bowser trying so desperately to remove the black element from DC, Mario, I hate fucking mumbo sauce fucking Bowser, who endorsed Bloomberg by the fucking way. You know what I'm saying? When you have these people trying to set all the gentrification up to get the black people out, it's because even before shit like this pops off, bro, you can just be riding fucking mass transit and you'll see stops where like motherfuckers have posters like fuck Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like that's before any of the additional provocation even happens. That's just the way it is out here. So we always be turned up, But I mean, of course, with this shit that's popping right now, it's even more. And I think not understanding the nature of DC comes from people that don't have a historical understanding of blackness, right? I mean, this is the place where Frederick Douglass lived. You can still go to his house. It's a national monument, and they give movies, where they talk about his whole shit was agitate. I think it's really important too because he's one of those de-emphasized black leaders that they don't really talk about these days, or they'll say shit like he was a Republican, like that shit means anything in the context of modern politics. You know what I'm saying? But like that was one of his first things when the young activists would come to him in his old age. What can you do to bring about change? Dude straight up said, agitate, agitate, agitate. So I guess you could say the city is in a state of deep wash. There's some agitation happening, and coward motherfuckers are hiding in their bunkers.
Yeah. So what are the security forces like though? I mean, obviously, like here in LA, LAPD is known for its viciousness. It's known for its whatever, but they're not guarding, the
Right.
head,
So DC being
whatever.
a
So yeah.
municipality and a federal principality, there are several things that are working at any given time. Look, if you take a plane out of Ronald Reagan Airport, is just painful to even say that shit. The other choice is Dulles. We know what his fucking job was. Any rate, you have to walk past several men with AR-15. So like DC is always turned up like that as far as like that kind of a presence goes. Ever since the lockdown, because of COVID, which by the way, for those of y'all that are out in the street, the masks have never been more important. You still got people out there that are contagious. You got to assume 1 in 300 Americans got that shit. You really want to have your masks on, if nothing else, for the fact that you're protecting yourself and you're giving yourself a little edge against all that facial recognition bullshit. Because remember, man, the Ferguson protesters keep dying in weird ass ways to do what you can to protect yourself. But like, even when you would go, ever since we've had the lockdown where we've been quarantined, even if you go to Trader Joe's, there are literally National Guardsmen out there making sure you're 6 feet apart. You knew it was about to turn up because over the past couple of days, if you go to any of those stores, there's no National Guardsmen there. All of the motherfuckers have been pulled off because they were already ready for what they knew was going to happen. It's almost like they had an inside playbook or something. I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah. So what are you going to be covering today on The Matrix?
We actually pushed back a week just to be in honor of the blackout. You know what I'm saying? But one of the conversations we're going to have is, it's so much wild shit going on. We just wanted to talk about media. And so we're going to discuss different shows, things that have resonance and power. That's the thing with like Matrix as a podcast. We try to cover a lot of different aspects of the zeitgeist, lots of really heady shit. We'll hit them with some geopolitics, but then also we'll hit them with Drake beef. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all aspects of life. Like, just because you live in a radical kind of way of life, you're trying to live a revolutionary way of life, it doesn't mean that there isn't room for entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And like, you need distraction to maintain sanity. I think that's one of the things that people really misunderstand the most is how important it is to do self-care, self-meditative healing to keep yourself in a strong mind state. Because when you're out there doing that hard work, man, you're under a constant assault. People are trolling you on Facebook. In real life, people are coming in your face and putting signs in your face and all lives matter. And it's like, bruh, the fuck is you doing? Don't you have some other shit to do than to just be in my face? Like trying to make me gaslight the shit out of me. Like your life is equally as dangerous as mine. And they always have their pet black person that'll come up and say the things that make them feel comfortable. I think about the lady who shall not be named. And she's up there like, I don't know where black people are, mad. More white people are killed than black people by law enforcement, and that is true. But when you start putting in things like, I don't know, percentage of armed people, that changes the mathematics. Or even just looking at what the percentage of the population is. When you look at what the percentage of white people are in America, of course, numerically more white people are going to suffer extrajudicial execution. But when you start to look at what the percentage of the population is, that's where you can see it's deeply outpaced. When black people represent somewhere between 12 to 13.1% of the population, and yet we represent almost 40% of the people who suffer extrajudicial murder. And that's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about, this guy got killed or this woman got killed, because any person that is killed in a policing matter is a travesty when you consider what police exist to do, right? As stated by Western culture, police exist to apprehend a suspect. Judgment is supposed to come later from a judge or from a jury. That's where punishment is supposed to mete it out. But that's not what we've been. We've been in the era of Judge Dredd hero cops that can decide, at the drop of a dime, okay, this guy is suspected of counterfeiting a $20 bill. Not been proven guilty in anything, because again, innocent until proven guilty, based upon the framework that they tell us is supposed to be the law of the land. Here it's accused as guilty, and guilty is death. So we just want to have a break from the heaviness of that for a second, and we'll be talking about that next week. Just giving everybody an opportunity to talk about kind of like what are your top 5 shows and why they stuck with you. But what never is gone from any of that is the social commentary, right? Like, you can't talk about what makes Breaking Bad a great show without talking about white male fantasy, right? White male power fantasy. Middle-aged, never do well ass kind of smart white guy who doesn't get the millions that he feels like he's owed, wakes up one day with cancer and decides, I by myself can defeat the Mexican cartel, right? it's impossible to have conversations about what makes Breaking Bad a great show. So, those kind of things are what we're going to be having that conversation about for sure. You should definitely peep in.
Yeah. I mean, Breaking Bad is, oh my God, man. Jesus Christ. Like, you remember the assassins that come to kill him, the two bald
Yeah,
twins? They don't have a single line of dialogue.
bruh.
Single line of dialogue. They are like the Walking Dead. They're like zombies. They don't have a
Right?
single line of dialogue.
Or you get the hyper violent Tuco that's getting, things blown up in his room and he's stabbing his tongue like but
Yeah.
but this is not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, they just kind of exist as
You're a
nightmares.
white male fantasy, man.
I mean, they exist as nightmares, and yet he still defeats them somehow, and that's
right through the power of his will. I mean, it's the Batman complex, right? All the white man needs is a little bit of money and his superior intellect.
No, that's
no social commentary at all, man. It's just art. It's art for art's sake.
That's some wild shit. Yeah. The other one that's always got to me though, I want to get back on topic, but the one that's always got to me though was The Waking Dead, episode 3, season 1.
Never seen an episode, bro. But tell me about it.
There's an episode called Vatos, right? And they're wandering the land and they find this like Vato compound, right? They find this compound of these Mexican, like, I mean, you initially meet them, so like gangbangers, right? But then like as the show develops, you find out there's a whole community that they're taking care of. They're like taking care of the elderly. They're running like a preschool. You know what I mean? They got like a whole like society essentially, right? A small society. And these people, the wandering cast, decide that they need to leave. Now here they found a community, but they need to leave because they don't want to be under the leadership of Vatos. So they gotta go.
Wow.
Zombies, So I mean, that's kind of like that always got to me on that topic.
Man, all I ever heard about was there can only be one rule. You know what I'm saying? With fucking Waking Dead, and I knew already it wasn't gonna be my kind of fucking show, man. Yeah. Whereas like, if there's ever 2 strong black people, definitely one of them will be dead. Probably by the end of the episode, but if not, definitely by the end of the fucking season. There can only be one. Like, it's always Highlander shit and shit like that, man. Again, it's a constant assault on blackness, black mind, teaching even subconsciously the disposability of blackness, especially black masculinity, but all of blackness represents a threat if it can't be subdued. You know what I'm saying? If it can't be subdued, it must be eradicated. And like again, so like as a rule, I just didn't even avoid that media off top, bro.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier people chanting "All Lives Matter." Did you hear about the situation where the guy was chanting "All Lives Matter" and pulled out a bow and arrow?
Yeah, this was in Salt Lake City or some shit. They pulled him out of the car and beat that ass, right? But then all of them got arrested and he didn't. And this is what we mean when we talk about white supremacist constructs. Look, more than a decade ago, okay, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, hardly a bastion of liberal thought, put out a paper saying that law enforcement had been infiltrated by white supremacy. Nothing ever came from this. There were never no deeper fucking investigation, no chief of police found with ties and tried for the public and put in jail, right? But now, we got the fucking the NSA director, National Security Advisor. I'm sorry, that's a different position. The National Security Advisor being like, we haven't been able to find any systemic traces of anti-blackness in law enforcement. You don't say. No, we investigated ourselves and we found ourselves not guilty.
Wow.
So that shit's been going on, man, and it's not much of a surprise. I mean, I think it's one of the more ironic things. I think it started maybe in the late 90s when you started seeing all of these police officers, rocking memento moris and shit. Like, that's straight up death culture, man. Like, and even in the comics, the Punisher's like, you motherfuckers ain't supposed to rock for my shit. I am for vigilante murder justice, right? Like, how did that ever become a symbol for the police when the official mythology is to protect and serve? Look, bro, I've been pulled over on the side of the fucking road before with a blown fucking tire. I never ever feel any type of warmth or security when I see blue lights pull up behind my shit. I'm not like, yo, they about to help me get this axle off. We about to get these tires popped. I'm gonna be right back on the road. You know what I'm saying? And it evokes such a feeling, especially in people of color, but specifically Black people, that's just unequaled by any other thing. If an ambulance pulls over, I feel real good. If firefighters pull over, for the most part, I feel good. So, like, how can this be a part of social services that are supposed to be, it's a service provided by the government that I pay for as a taxpayer? And I feel like in almost any given situation, I'm going to have to be very clever to find a way to not end up dead. And I say that as an activist that's 4'10", you know what I'm saying? Hardly, hell, blind as fuck, hardly a physical imposing threat. And yet somehow, I always feel lucky. Like I found a way to trick them into not killing me today. And if that's what I feel like, I can't imagine what it's got to be like to be a 6'5", muscular Black guy, with some locks already, you're showing you're a little bit nonconformist and shit. Like, and the fascist argument is always, well, if you listen, you won't die. But then these be the same motherfuckers to be like, freedom of speech, I get to say whatever. So, like, at the same time in their brain, they believe that exercising speech is not deferential, right, to members of authority is worthy of summary death execution, like summary execution,
So a lot of these people, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So a lot of these people who they don't they say like do as you're told and you won't get shot. A lot of the same people that like don't want to go into a store if they have to wear a mask or something like that.
Right.
So
right, because it's the underlying statement that the rules apply to you. I think one of the most misunderstood on a conscious level, but deeply held belief in the American system is the Dred Scott decision, where Chief Justice Tony says there is no law that pertains to a Black person that binds a white person, that they're bound to follow. Like, that is one of the most deeply held beliefs. I mean, you have no further to look than what's her name, Amy Cooper in New York City. This is a quote unquote liberal white woman who voted for Obama, voted, for the Clintons. This is hardly a Trump supporter, right? Which is shocking considering 53%, but I will cover those another day. And just as soon as she's told that she's breaking the law, which by the way she doesn't have her dog on a fucking leash, she threatens to call the police and outsource potentially lethal violence, and my people are so conditioned to placating the polite culture that like 3 days later he's all like, it's wrong that they're fucking her whole life up, bruh. She could have got you fucking murder, death, killed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And we're such an empathetic people that we feel sorry for her. Like, oh my God, this racist has had her life turned upside down. Nobody would want that. Floyd's brother has come out within the past couple of days saying, this isn't what Floyd would have wanted. I think what Floyd would have wanted was to fucking live. If I had to make a number one guess, that's probably the answer on the board that I'm gonna pick. Everything else is up in the fucking air, man.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting is the guy that the guy who got the cops or called on him in the park. The big thing was that celebrated about like, oh, he's so cool and he's so good and he's so like like successful and he's got his own thing going. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of weird. I mean, that's a weird like. I mean, good for him, but I mean, that's a weird like. This is a weird jumping off point. You know what I mean? Like, so what if he did? Yeah. Like, what if he was unemployed? What if he'd been like had to have a job for 6 months? What if he was like, what if like he was struggling? Millions of people in this country struggling. I mean, so what if this guy was one of them? What if this guy was one of these people struggling? Would it now not be as would he have deserved that? I mean, like what? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely, because some Black lives are worth more than others. If they matter at all, it has to be the right Black life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm almost there. I have a master's in fine art. I'm an activist. I'm well spoken. I come from a respectable family. I was exactly what was expected to go into the Black bourgeois class. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, bro, my people is in the hood, so the hood is where I be. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit I fuck with. It's like understanding the culture as it exists in the mainstream without divorcing myself from the reality of what most of my people are like. You know what I'm saying? But like, what the fuck is it supposed to be like for most of the cats I came up with in high school? You know what I'm saying? Cats that that literally dealt crack because there were no jobs in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Cats that were in gangs because everybody else was in gang, and if you weren't in a gang, you were gonna get fucked up. And being in a gang didn't mean you shot people. Being in a gang didn't mean you robbed people. It just meant you was in a gang. Everybody on this block is in this fucking gang. I know LA got a lot of them same fucking histories. You know what I'm saying? But just to hear it be told to, mainstream America, well, he was in a gang. What happened to him? Because they automatically have these images of like, AK-47 wielding, which by the way, Second Amendment, so why should that even color your opinion, right? Type people of color that are just dangerous and scary. You know what I'm saying? And they never see it as a defense mechanism. They never see it as the things that these dudes had to do to live. And so when violence comes to them, it's immediately okay. Because you were already afraid of them, and low key, you wanted something to happen. You can never voice the public, well, I'd like them all to die. What?
So, what does it look like on the ground there in DC? Does it look like the protests are going to continue? Does it look like they're slowing down?
I don't think it's slowed down at all, because what's happened is the evolution of the curfew. A couple of days ago, the curfew was at 11. And then a fascist had a bad night. He had some nightmares, and he had to suck on his thumb and his blankie. And so they made sure that the black people had to go to bed earlier. So like we're standing now at a place where the standing curfew is 7 p.m. You're supposed to be in unless you're what is the workers, an essential worker, which of course, what you're gonna believe that shit? No matter what I pull you, if you pull me over and I'm out, you're not asking me what's essential about my job. I'm gonna have to prove that in the court of law that I'm an essential worker. And that's the best case scenario is that I'm gonna get arrested, because we already said how it could go the other way, right? But that hasn't stopped anything. Like there's still masses of people out there, and people are gonna be heard, man. People are gonna be heard. But what's wild to me is how quickly they go to things like tear gas. There are almost no warnings that are happening. The tear gas is being fired. Tear gas, which, by the way, is not even allowed to be used in theaters of war. Like in the United Nations, that's a violation of principle. But somehow it's okay to use this chemical weapon against citizens that have assembled, utilizing their constitutional right to petition the government, to assemble peacefully. And we are peacefully assembled, and violence is coming to us.
Yeah. So what do you make of all the Hong Kong comparisons?
I think Hong Kong was very educational in that a lot of people studied what they did on the ground, and we took that. Anti-oppression methodology has application worldwide. Of course, I am an outlier on the position of Hong Kong, because it's really odd to me that Americans can empathize with the Hong Kong situation, as they feel like they're a set-aside population that has had different culture and different values, and not necessarily accept into the mainstream of China, though they've only been divorced from the mainland for less than 150 years. Like, this doesn't even give you enough time to create a new biology. There is no ethnic differentiation between Han Chinese and the people that are living on the island of Hong Kong, or the archipelago. But yet and still, you're gonna look at black people who have been inside of, but never fully immersed or allowed to assimilate to American culture. We've been here for at least 400 years, right? And all of a sudden, nobody understands when we're being oppressed, and utilizing a lot of the same tactics that we've seen across the world, especially in places like Hong Kong. It's hard for me, though, to have a lot of sympathy for the people in Hong Kong, because if you want to achieve that type of self-determination, then what you're saying is you want to go to war. And if they want to go to war with China, that's their right, but that's not smart. Like, there are 1 billion people in China, and it's one of the world's most advanced militaries, and that comes with what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like, black people aren't even revolting and like, we want to be our own nation. Like, that's not. We're just saying, please don't shoot us in the fucking head every fucking time you pull us over. Like, our aims are much less ambitious than the Hong Kong, which want self-determination. They want autonomy. And as a rule, there's only a couple of ways that tends to go. Very few people are granted cessation from a nation without hostility. I mean, the Great American South found that shit out.
Yeah, I personally think that like the leaf blower thing, that's a pretty cool idea. But other than that, they seem like a bunch of fascists to me. I mean, like,
oh, they absolutely are.
Absolutely fascist.
What does it mean when you want to view yourself more as British than Chinese? Like, it's hard to see that as anything other than a form of self-hate. And this is why we say white supremacy is a global phenomenon. I mean, it's extraordinary because all of that popped off in China, in Hong Kong, when the only thing was the Chinese wanted to be able to extradite people that do crimes in Hong Kong, because the Hong Kong courts are so corrupt that you can do these crimes, and if you have enough money, you have enough judges paid off, you're not going to see any real type of problem. Meanwhile, in the mainland of China, you have regular Chinese people looking at this type of corruption, and they know in the mainland, if you're corrupt like this, you know what I'm saying, you might be answering six. Firing squad is still a real thing. And so all they're saying is treat us like the way, like Hong Kong shouldn't get special treatment. If they do these crimes, they should be extradited. And that popped all of this wildness off over there. You are muted, kind sir.
Yeah, I am unmuted now. So we got a question from the audience. It says, can you talk about supporting the movement versus co-opting and appropriating? Like, so how could people who are not black, what can they do to support and not
right? So I believe intersectional coalitions are really important, right? We have to be able to make audiences of people that look more than like black people, because the higher percentage of black people are, the faster the state has the ability to upgrade the violence. You know what I'm saying? To move. So like, it's very important to have intersectional coalitions of people more than just black people. The difference comes in what your role you're expecting to be, right? When you step in and now you expect automatically to have a leadership position, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're just bringing more white supremacist kind of ideology. Like, well, we know how to do this, how to get this done. We know the right way to do this. It's like, what's the right way? Please tell me. Because Colin Kaepernick on his knees, right, is not the right way. But apparently alt-right people walking with AR-15s and body tech armor through state capitals appears to be the right way. But it might not be the right way, because I remember when the Panthers tried it, it was the wrong way. That's what Ronald Reagan said, who was like the NRA's fucking love child. So like, it seems to never be a right way, no matter what the way we do is. And it's just that much more insulting when you have people that are not deeply tied to black culture saying you're doing it wrong. Because it assumes that we have no idea what we're doing. Like, none of us are coming from revolutionary backgrounds. Like, we haven't done any studying. Like, we don't know what anti-oppression methodology is. Right? Come out and show solidarity with us. Like, I got love for fucking, Brown Nation. Brown Nation got love for Black Nation. All of us got love for nations, you know what I'm saying? But like, depending on what the protest is, that's who the voice should be about. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you feel the need to center yourself, you're co-opted. We don't necessarily need you here to teach us or tell us. We need you here to show them you got love for us. You also, if it's fuck me up, it's fuck y'all up. Like, that's what I need. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what we get from most of this. Believe it or not, a lot of us been at this for quite some time, and we understand how to protest in ways that are within the purview of law. We don't need to know everything, but if you can make material support, shit, that's great, man. Do that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, man. Like, I'm just, you covered everything so quickly.
Yo,
um,
if I can, man, I
yeah,
think one of the
absolutely.
so there's something that was written by Professor Lawrence Brett in spring 2003. It's the 14 characteristics of fascism. If it's okay, I'd like to run over those real quick because fascism is a word that is in the public domain once again with Air Cheeto. You know what I'm saying? Talking about making Antifa a terrorist organization, which, as best I understand, is just an ideology, right? Anti-fascism. Fascism has become kind of like a very insult when reality is it's a political school of thought. So, what is fascism? These are the 14 characteristics broken down by Dr. Lawrence Bray. Number one, powerful and continuing nationalism. Two, disdain for the recognition of human rights. Three, identification of enemies, scapegoats as the unifying cause. Make America great again. If only all of our jobs hadn't went to that place with them other people. Four, supremacy of the military. Five, rampant sexism. Six, controlled mass media. Sometimes media is directly controlled by the government, but in other cases, the media is indirectly controlled by government regulation or sympathetic media spokespeople and executives. And think about how easy it is to do this when six major corporations control all of the media. And all of those media outlets are owned by billionaires. Seven, obsession with national security. Eight, religion and government are intertwined. I'm gonna tell you, in my city alone, just yesterday, Air Cheeto had tear gas sprayed out into a public protest that was peaceful so that he could walk with a Bible in his hand to a church. And then the church later was like, hey, we had shit to do with this. What the fuck? Right? Nine, corporate power is protected. 10, labor power is suppressed. 11, disdain for intellectuals and the art. 12, obsession with crime and punishment, which is how we got to where we are. You know, $20, alleged $20 counterfeit bill is worthy of a knee on the neck for 8 minutes until you are dead, 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 right? 13, rampant cronyism and corruption. And this is something that never changes, Democrat or Republican. You got Hunter Biden get $50,000 a month from Burisma, and meanwhile, Air Cheeto's kids are all in the damn age. They're all got government jobs. And then lastly, 14, fraudulent elections. Now, as Dr. Britt saw it, you should be afraid if your country was starting to participate in 2 to 3 of these. And where we're at, Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. You're all 14 of these checked off because neoliberalism yields to fascism.
So what do you make of Joe Biden saying Joe Biden's solution that we should just shoot people in the leg?
Oh, shoot people in the leg? First off, as a shooter, you know what I'm saying? Because I came up from down south. We have hunting traditions. That's what we into. That's some. Who are you, fucking Annie Oakley, bro? Like, fucking what the fuck, bro? Like, if you're out at the range, you know what an impossible shit he's talking about. Like, this is not Marvel, bro. We're not Bullseye. Like, very few people have that kind of accuracy. And all it does is encourages more shots, not less shots, because you want to make sure. So let's say that happens, right? Well, now you're talking about a bunch of people that are going to be crippled for life. Never mind the fact that the femoral artery is in your leg and you will probably bleed out and die if a bullet goes through it. So that's another way where it's like, well, I shot him in the leg. I don't know why he's dying. There he's faking. But also, it's a half measure because again, why is there an instinct for lethal force to be used? If the law is one law for everybody, look, bro, I can't shoot you in the leg if you don't do what I tell you to. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the power to do that. You know, there's so many police forces all around the world that have found solutions to this problem without utilizing lethal force. I think about in Japan, where the police forces are trained in taihojutsu, which is the art of apprehension, where you tie people up. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, boom. Now you don't have to kill them. They're tied to fuck up. They're no longer a threat to you or anyone. You know, in Britain, hardly a bastion of kindness and gentility, right? Their police officers carry the bobbies. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not like a problem. We have to figure out, like, how can we have police force without guns? Like, there's so many nations that are already doing this kind of stuff that can be done. Instead of buying the fifth tank for your city, how about forced military training for people that want to be in law enforcement, learning things like taihojatsu, which are non-lethal by nature? It can be done, and it can be done cheaper than what it costs to militarize all of these forces.
Yeah. I mean, I just find it like, I mean, everything about Joe Biden is just like absurd. I mean, you know.
I mean, how is his solution still shoot the black person, but shoot him somewhere different? And like, this is the guy. It's like, you know, it's a war in my people right now for this guy. Like, oh, what else are we gonna do? It's like, bruh, that's abuse talk. Like, we have to recognize the Democrats have us in such a ridiculously abusive relationship that literally we're in love with a guy that's like, well, he said shoot him in the leg. And it's like, oh, this is leadership I can fucking believe in. Let me just go ahead out and give me a little voter fucking registration rally right now. Let's sign everybody up for this shit. That's not leadership, bro. That shoot the black person, but make it respectable.
Wow. So it's like make it respectable by shooting them. Like, wow, that's really, that's a different way. Man. That's a good way of expressing it. Jesus. I mean, everything about him. I mean, like, you know, I don't know. Like, I think there was a lot of it was, I don't know, people like shocked or something like that about what he said to Charlemagne. But like, if you follow the career of Joe Biden, it's really not shocking.
Bruh, when you make Charlemagne look like some kind of a radical black person, how much fucking work has been done? This is the motherfucker that went on there with Tommy Lauren. Like, if only black women followed her ideals and made a platform for themselves, right? This dude just had motherfucking Rush Limbaugh on there, for fuck's sake. You know, when you make him sound like some kind of bastion for blackness, that should tell you how incredibly off the base you are, man. And think about the fact we ain't heard shit from Joe Biden for weeks. And you come back and this the shit you gotta say? Trump is shoot him in the head, you're shoot him in the leg. How am I supposed to get hyped up for that? Nah.
So what needs to be done?
I mean, what needs to be happening, I think, especially for people like us that are still involved in the democratic process, right? In addition to all the other processes that we work through, I think we have to think about things like what Malcolm X said and begin to pool as coalitions into parties that specifically deal with the brown agenda, the black agenda, the gay agenda. Democrats are not that party. We go to the Democrats because we have a naked fear of open fascism, which we should, right? But we have to realize that neoliberalism is just like, well, let's find a way to make this not that bad, right? Like, as opposed to how great can we make something? To me, this is what Malcolm X was talking about in Ballot or the Bullet. This is why he's advocating highly for black people to form our own coalitions. And again, it's not like we didn't listen. It's not like we didn't try. When we tried to do that with organizations like the Black Panthers, they're all infiltrated, they're set up, and they're made to look bad, you know? But I mean, the fact is, they're going to do what they do. We still have to do what we do. And one of the best political things we can do from a democratic process is go to parties, whereas 12% of the black vote, you know, that's not really going to swing a Democrat or a Republican election. But 12% of the black vote going to something like the Socialist Party or the Green Party or the Independent Party, whatever we choose, right? Now start to coalition that with the Hispanic population is what? It's 25, something like that, moving closer to like 30, right? You start to take these bigger voting blocks, right? And now things that used to sound impossible don't sound impossible anymore. We start to be able to have conversations about drug deregulation. We begin to be able to have conversations about universal health care that goes beyond a Medicare for all model. Like that's some kind of radical fucking shit. We begin to have conversations like free college. We begin to have conversations like reparations and normalizing relations with Central and South America. But within the framework of what we have, I mean, if you listen to Joe Biden talk about Palestine, shit, he may be further to the right than fucking Cheeto. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely very far to the right when you look at his relations on blacks. When he talked about, I don't feel like I should have to pay for the sins of people 150 years ago. That's what he had to say about reparations. Ridiculously racist. There's lots of there's black kids as smart as those white kids. Like it's like, bro, you're constantly letting your shit out. Crying for Strom Thurmond when he died. Like this man has been a known piece of shit for like a long fucking time, bro. What we need to do is divorce ourselves from a situation that's not advantageous to us and begin a coalition with people that have a lot of the similar agendas that we have.
Yeah.
And that's how you get real progress.
And it's been done in other places. I mean, it's been done all around the world. I mean,
even Britain has 3 political parties, I mean, in America, they act like this just can't be done. Yo, in a French primary, there might be 10 political parties, bro. Like, I mean, these are things that exist all around the democratic world where we can do them if we begin to look at what are the forms of anti-oppression methodology that's happening throughout the world. We just got to do it.
I mean, even just like in terms of electoral politics, like, Greece, despite like how things turn out, I mean, in Greece, Spain, Chile, Mexico, I mean, like you have a situation where things happen very quickly, and then I mean, I agree with you, and I think that it has to be something new, because I think that the older groups, the ones that have been around, if they were going to do something, they've done it by now, and it's like
that's real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it's like anything, you get caught in a cycle, and then you just accept the cycle you're in, right? So it's like
right.
We're not going to ever win, but we'll get more. We're never going to win, but we'll get more. We're not going to. Winning's unrealistic, but we're going to get more. But like something like new that like popped up overnight, not overnight, but over the course of like maybe like 4 or 5 years, would have a lot more. There's a lot more possibility in that than something that's been around for 40. In my
That's
opinion.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's nothing to it but to do it, right? But like this is the thing with Biden, man. Like it's like on every single front. It's not just the. I mean, like I think what makes Trump so scary is his rhetoric. But if you look at the rhetoric of Joe Biden, it's somehow actually an increase from like Hillary Clinton. I mean, who was also horrible. But I mean, like, but it's if you look at
he's significantly to the right of her in many positions. I don't know, man. Maybe not with Russia, but I don't know. I mean, this kid is making all that money with Ukraine. So, I mean, that's just political. Whereas I feel like Hillary's Russia, that shit was personal. Like, and Putin does project. You know what I'm saying? Like, Biden just trying to get this money like all gangsters do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
I didn't mean to say it to endorse Hillary Clinton, but what I mean is, or
no,
saying
no, sure.
But it seems just like it's an escalating thing. It seems like the lesser evil is getting more and more evil. Like, so maybe like Hillary Clinton might have been a little more evil than John Kerry, and Biden might be a little bit more evil than Hillary Clinton. I mean, it just seems like it's getting more and more evil.
I hear you, man. I feel like it's been a pretty consistent level of evil, man. John Kerry was with them boys.
He was pretty fucking evil.
You know what I'm saying?
More like ruthless. I mean, maybe ruthless evil. The ruthless.
There we go.
Evil.
There we go. Yeah.
The ruthlessness of the evil seems to be increasing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I mean, I just think they're all terrible candidates. It's and it's not like the Democrats haven't ever had anyone that is interesting, right? They just get pushed out. There's no room for a Dennis Kucinich anymore. There's no room for a Mike Gravel. I remember that. Again, people feel like, damn, Mo, you just really be in on fucking racist grandpa all the time and shit. Bernie Panders. And it's like, bro, if Bernie was the dude that he claims to be, why didn't he make room for someone like Mike Gravel? Because again, Mike will show you just how to fucking far to the left you fucking ain't. You know what I'm saying? And you have to always keep that mystique. Like, no one's further to the left than Bernie. It was like, bruh, Come on, you're still trying to bait the white working class. Like, we can't hear that fucking dog whistle, bro. Our ears are tuned fine. So, I don't know if they're getting more evil. I just think this is the Democratic brand of evil. It's equally flavorless, but somehow still lethal. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the Republican fascist brand is like, oh, you're going to taste this bleach. You know what I'm saying? The Democrat brand is like, well, it'll be freaking painless.
You're gonna drink this bleach and you're gonna love it. And you're gonna love it because you
It's
love
cherry
America.
flavored. Yeah. You like cherries?
Yeah. You're gonna love it because you love America. Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking this hour. Is there anything that you think that we should know, people should know right now? What should they do? How should they read the situation? And what should they do going moving forward?
One of the greatest things about not having a set brand of leadership, right, and everybody having so many similar agendas but not perfectly the same, is that you're not under the rule of any one person. And so the great thing is it gives you the opportunity to do your best effort, right? You listen to everything that makes sense, but ultimately you do what your conscience tells you you should be doing to help people that are trying to attain freedom. So what I would say is, for everybody out there, listen to your heart. You know what I'm saying? Be empathetic, be sympathetic, listen, and try to love on each other, man. Try to keep each other safe out there. Because you know what? If people kill you for saying, please don't kill me, ain't no other way you could, you're going out and you're saying, please don't kill me, and they kill you anyway. Ain't nothing else that can be done other than to try to keep each other safe, man. While you tell them, don't fucking kill me. And you make yourself seen and you make yourself heard. You keep yourself safe and you help others to be as safe as they can.
Yeah. All right, brother. It's been an hour of power, man. I really do appreciate you, and
love you, homie. Keep fighting in the streets, bro. Love to the Brown Nation.
Always, man. And stay safe out there, but also, I mean, do what you can do, but don't get arrested.
I'm not trying to head. I think I have enough street cred already, bro. I don't need a rap sheet.
Yeah, no. You and I have the same mentality. Like, do the thing, don't get caught. Talk soon.